Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and if you've looked at the title, which of course you have, or why else would you be clicking on it, then it's safe to assume that today's topic is going to be a very interesting one, because how would Severus Snape have replaced Voldemort? I'm sure there's plenty of you out there who feel he would not be up to the challenge, and you're rightly entitled to feel that way, because there is evidence to show that it would certainly be a challenge. However, as I always say, this is Harry Potter folklore and anything goes on this channel. If any suggestion or theory is a possibility, then I'm going to make it into a video. So where do we even begin when talking about Severus Snape replacing Voldemort after his first downfall? And how does the story go from there? How does the story change? Let's continue the video and explore the outcome of Snape's new position. Okay guys, continuing on from the intro. When we think of the most powerful wizards in existence, three individuals will always come to mind. Albus Dumbledore, Gellert Grindelwald, and who could forget Lord Voldemort. They always seem to exist on a different level to everyone else. For example, people like Phileas Flitwick, Minerva McGonagall, and Horace Slughorn are looked upon as extremely powerful, but would you put them in the same bracket as any of the original three? I don't really think many of us would, but that doesn't exactly mean they're too far away either in terms of strength. Let's take Voldemort for example. He was obsessed with becoming the most powerful wizard he could be. There wasn't any area that he didn't want to perfect. Nothing else mattered to him other than being the very best, the most powerful. It was the same with Dumbledore and Grindelwald. They were also power hungry. They wanted to enslave the Muggle race at one point, so it's clear to see that these individuals had a different mentality. It was what made them so great in the first place. Then we have Severus Snape, who I feel is a very unusual case. He's immensely powerful, has a knowledge of the dark arts to rival even Voldemort, and in my opinion is the most underrated wizard in the entire Harry Potter series, despite it being clear that he was very, very powerful. I think he's closest to the top 3 out of anyone, and in all honesty, could have went up against any of them. He was after Grindelwald's time, so there's not a strong link between the two in terms of how Snape would actually do in comparison, but that's not the point I'm making. It's not that kind of video. The point I'm trying to make is that Snape knew Voldemort better than anyone. He was on the inside. He had learned so much from him, despite Voldemort most likely never admitting he learned from another human being. He would have taken it into consideration, and despite Voldemort most likely never admitting he learned from another human being, he would have taken into consideration everything Snape said. He genuinely valued him as a servant, and Snape also knew a lot about Dumbledore too. They had worked closely together for years after he switched sides, following the prophecy revelation, so all in all, it's pretty beneficial to have worked with 2 out of the 3 greatest wizards of the age. He had learned so much and was vastly experienced by the time he had graduated from Hogwarts, which brings me to my next point. People forget how deeply involved Snape was as a Death Eater. He redeemed himself, but don't forget, the only reason he did so was because of the guilt he felt over Lily. That was it. He didn't have a massive change of heart, which therefore makes me ask the question, what Snape actually did as a Death Eater. It was a lot worse than bullying Muggleborns, I can assure you. And while we don't know the extent of his crimes as a Death Eater, we know what the majority of Death Eaters did in the name of Voldemort. They tortured, injured, harmed, maimed and killed anyone who opposed them. And I feel that anyone who believes Snape was exempt from participating in such behaviour needs to look at the man more clearly. He hurt people. He definitely hurt people, and I think that's overlooked. He wasn't above that kind of behaviour because it's what was required in order to be a Death Eater. He was in a very good position within the ranks, was highly respected, and most importantly, he was also on the winning side. Voldemort was going to win. It was only a matter of time. Even the great Albus Dumbledore was running out of ideas to try keep the Dark Lord at bay. As I've said, the single and only reason he changed sides was because of his love for Lily, that he inadvertently put her in harm's way, the key word being he. That's what turned me away from Voldemort. Because let's look at the situation for a moment. Snape was a Death Eater, Lily was a member of the Order. He knew she was in the Order. He knew she was going to fight, and most likely they would come up against each other. Maybe not each other directly, but what I mean is, Snape was perfectly willing to remain a Death Eater, fight for Voldemort, and hurt as many people as it took to win, knowing that the woman he loved would be on the opposite side, and most likely would have a very high chance of being killed. How come that didn't cause him to switch sides? I'll say it again, he could deal with Lily dying, but not if he was the one who caused it. Therefore, if he hadn't told Voldemort about the prophecy, realizing what he actually just done, then he most likely may have never defected. Now you might think, well hold on, how does Voldemort even discover the prophecy if that's the case? James would have divulged the information to the Marauders as he truly trusted them. Sirius and Peter knew originally about the Fidelius charm from the Potters confiding in them, so all it would take is for Wormtail to go straight to Voldemort with news of the prophecy. James Potter trusted his 3 friends with his life. It was his greatest trait and his biggest flaw, as trust normally is with most people. So if we go with that current timeline, Voldemort would still meet his first downfall and be disembodied, meaning Snape would still have been a Death Eater. So let's go at this for a moment. Snape would be the ideal candidate to replace him, even more so than Lucius Malfoy. The trouble with Lucius was that he cared more about himself than the success of Voldemort's cause. He tried to take control, and as soon as things took a turn, he pulled the old imperious curse excuse to get off with any punishment. However, with Snape, it's a different story. With Snape in charge, it's a different story. Out of every on-screen character, I feel Alan Rickman, may he rest in peace, portrays him closest to how the character actually is in the books. He had a calmness about him. He was somebody that, if you were around him or in his presence, you knew everything would be okay. You knew you were safe. Nobody knew what had happened to Voldemort after he went to the Potters. Some thought he had fled. Some thought he had been hurt and didn't want to show weakness by returning defeated. Some thought that young Harry had some unknown power that stopped Voldemort. The point is, Voldemort had disappeared and the Death Eaters wanted answers. 4 Death Eaters took it upon themselves to go on a manhunt in search for answers, and they left a path of devastation behind them. Bellatrix Lestrange, her husband Rodolphus, his brother Rabaston, and Antonin Dolohov tortured the Longbottoms into insanity while looking for information on their master's whereabouts. It caused complete and utter outrage in the wizarding community and sparked a massive and aggressive effort on the Ministry's behalf to bring every Death Eater to justice for participating in the starting of this war that had seen so many people killed. Severus Snape would have never allowed anything like that to happen while in charge of the Death Eater ranks. He would have had Bellatrix and the others remain with him, and heavily advised against such a careless attack, citing the risks it would bring to the cause, especially with their master missing. In reality, Snape was far too clever and immediately knew that the only thing that would keep Voldemort from returning was death, or something very, very close to it. There was no way he could have been kidnapped, as he was far too strong for that. The man could come and go from Nurmengard as he pleased, with relative ease I might add, so there was no way he was ever going to be held captive. Snape was the only one capable of having the composure to actually realise what needed to be done when it came to the direct actions to take. Originally, word of the Dark Lord's downfall gave the Aurors confidence. People stopped being afraid. Snape would have set the rumours straight and done something to calm the Death Eaters. I'd tell them that Voldemort was working in solitude on something big. He would keep everyone calm. It's what Snape did best. The man was practically unreadable. I think it would be a completely different outcome with Snape in charge, but whether he'd be successful in mounting a successful assault and taking full control of the wizarding world remains to be seen, because Voldemort wasn't dead either. Anyway guys, that's my take on why Snape would have been a good replacement for Voldemort instead of Lucius Malfoy. As usual, make sure to leave your comments down below on what you think. I want to know if you all agree with me. Thanks again guys, I'll see you all in the next video. And my passion, however, it does cost time and money to produce this content, so if you have $1 to spare to support me on Patreon in exchange for some exclusive unseen content, then you can click the Patreon link below or at the end of this video. Please only support me if you can afford it. And make sure to follow me on Instagram at InstaDeanJ and on Twitter at PotterFolklore. Check out my other videos appearing on screen, and please make sure, most importantly, to hit that subscribe button. Thanks again everyone, and please have a great day.